to all who are watching this video. My name is Brittany and I'm from ABC Today, and we have Waymon Campbell, and he's going to talk to us about his career and his path and what it takes to be in his position. So Waymon, I'm going to pass it to you if you don't mind introducing yourself, and then providing like what you do for your career, and then any education, certifications, or licenses you had to acquire to be in your position.
Okay. My name is Waymon L. Campbell. I am currently a Chief Deputy Juvenile Officer here in Cape Girardeau County. That's a relatively, really new position. I've been doing that particular position for since January 1st. But prior to that, and I've been a Deputy Juvenile Officer for 26, going on 27 years. And I've done a little bit of everything here. I'm still doing, during the transition, I'm still doing probation for teenage boys. And so that's a little transition period, and probably about a month and a half, I'll transition completely away from that, and I'll be more of an administrative role. I have a degree in criminal justice with a minor in military science. Which I don't think is a thing anymore. I was in ROTC for a little while. I was in the National Guard. So yeah, I got into the field because initially I wanted to be a history teacher, but at some point I got a job at our local detention center, which is no longer. While I was in college, and then at some point I transitioned or switched to criminal justice, and so it's been rewarding.
That's awesome. Congrats on your new promotion. That's really awesome to kick off 2021. And you have a lot of experience in the field. I'm not going to tell you my age for that exact reason. So 26 years, you are rocking it. You are rocking it. So
I think I just turned 24.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. So you mentioned about switching your major. Okay. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us about how common that is, or what drew you to saying, hey, I'm going to switch to criminal justice from being a history teacher?
Yeah, because I knew that I wanted to work with kids, and it just, when I got the job at our detention center, I realized that I was probably better one-on-one. It seemed like it was really in my wheelhouse, and then I noticed that I could really help kids who are struggling, not just kids who trying to learn history. So it fell in my lap, and so it just was one of those things where I just was like, okay, this is what I want to do. They say if you get a job you love, you never work a day in your life, and as far as from a work standpoint, that might be true, because I always feel like I'm ready, willing to help somebody, but sometimes the struggle can be working with other people, within the framework of what we do. But other than that, I mean, I switched because, and it's common. I mean, I have a daughter that's in college now. I don't know how many times she's probably your age. She's probably, I don't know how many times she has actually switched. She graduates this semester, but I don't know how many times she's actually switched her majors. So I think it's pretty common, and it was pretty common. It was less common when I was doing it, but it was still common.
That's awesome. Thank you. So, can you provide what do you love or like best about your job? But on the flip side, what is more maybe challenging and could kind of throw a wrench in your day?
Mm-hmm. Actually, what I enjoy the most is it's never boring. I mean, and with that being said, there's automatically wrenches being thrown in my day. Mm-hmm. Because it's never boring. I might have my day planned out to a T, and by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm completely somewhere else. And so that's not for everybody. So the same thing that I enjoy doing can also be the same thing that can infuriate me sometimes, because I still have those other things on my list that, because I got to call at 9 o'clock about a kid running away to wherever. I mean, that list will have to wait till the next day, and then if that next day doesn't work out, it might have to. So you have to be flexible and you have to prioritize. So, but I think the thing that frustrates me probably the most, I mean, because I can hang with that, because I mean I've done that for 26 years, almost 27. So I I think the thing that frustrates me the most is sometimes people who think that I don't necessarily have their best interests at heart. I mean, not trusting the system. People who don't trust the system. So, you know, like I said, part of what we do here, and not only working with delinquents, we also work with abuse and neglect. We actually file the paperwork for the children's division, and so we have to work closely with those people. And there's a distrust of the system. So you have to, you know, show people that you can be trusted and you got their, you know, their best interests at heart.
Yeah.
So it can, you know, getting there can be difficult.
Absolutely. I think there can be some difficult moments in every career, you know, there's high moments and there's low moments for everyone. But if you had maybe high school students or students who just entered their college career looking into this field, what would be like some advice that you would give them when looking into specific positions, like what you started in years ago?
Well, two things. I mean, you're never going to get rich doing this. That's one thing. But I mean, there are days upon days upon days. You're going to go home with the complete fulfillment of what you did for that day. If you're really into helping people, it'd be hard. I mean, outside of social work and maybe a few other fields, you'll never get more excitement and joy out of helping people. You can actually see, you know, in 26 years, I can see tangible proof that I've made some differences in people in the lives of young people. I have a young man I worked with years ago that's now an attorney. I have and kids who, even though they may not go on to do great things, live their best lives because of maybe having somebody there to kind of help guide the way for them.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that. So when you are in your position, okay, what are some other jobs or other individuals who work in similar career fields that kind of filter into your office? I know you mentioned social work just briefly before, so you probably work very closely with social workers, but what are some other people that you might work with or encounter in your day-to-day job?
Anyone in the psychological, psychiatric kind of fields, definitely a lot of those. I'm trying to think. I'm struggling to find more.
Trying to think of what you encounter in a day, right?
I am. I mean, teachers, principals. Definitely a lot of teachers, a lot of principals. Anybody in the education field.
Awesome.
Do my day. Yeah. There's got to be more, but I'm drawing a blank at this moment.
I know I'm throwing some tough ones at you.
That's fine. Yeah, well.
So are there certain times of the year or certain months that are busier than others? And what does that look like for individuals in your position?
I definitely, anytime that school's going on, there's more referrals. Summertime, there's less referrals, but sometimes there are more serious referrals. A lot of times you have kids who are out in the world doing, they don't have anywhere to be the next morning. They're out in the streets stealing cars, or they're out in the street having fight clubs, which we've seen a lot of during the first 3 months of the pandemic. It was really quiet, but there was a while where teenagers get antsy, and there was fight clubs. There was stealing cars being stolen, a lot of sexual assaults happening. So, but typically speaking, our numbers shoot up when schools start, just because you got kids together. You got kids that don't want to go to school, so our numbers will probably go up 5 times when school starts.
Okay. Now I have a personal question in the sense of, how do you stay well? Okay. And I know you mentioned when you're working with students and you have to maybe deal with some difficult situations, and not everyone is taught that mindfulness or how to just stay well in a very kind of stressful career where you have to be flexible and adapt every single day. So how do you stay well, and what would you advise others to start doing early on in their career?
Prioritizing, number one. Not taking everything personal, number two. Number three, working out, finding some, whether it's yoga, whether it's running, whatever it is, find some way to make it. It's like if your body feels well, you feel well. And just leaving it as the best of your ability, leaving work at work. I'm not, so like I've done it long enough. I've had people who I've trained over the years, and it's just like, how do you, because we all care about the kids we work with. So I would go home when I first started working with little Joe and worry about little Joe. And I have my own kids at home, so like, so like I didn't live very far from the place where I was. Our office is in a different place now, but it wasn't very far from where I was. As I was driving home, I had to take off my cape. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't need, my kids didn't need to be saved. I didn't need to work with my kids like I worked with the kids that I have here. So I just had to, take my cape off and just go home and be Waymon, go home and be, dad. And that was, and I think that's what saved me. And I've been able to impart that to different people over the years. Like, you can't take it personally. Just because you're in these kids' lives doesn't mean they're automatically going to make changes. And then, because a lot of times these kids have had 14, 15, 16 years of invested in being what they are. And we all know that it takes a long time to change that. And then they're also going home to some home environments that are just, could be bananas, and you might, especially, I'm African American, so I can speak on this. We were taught that and I'm sure it's somewhat with everybody, but you don't talk outside of the home. So all the stuff that happens in the home, no matter how bad it is, you're not allowed to talk about. So stuff that you might not even know about as a worker, there's some crazy stuff happening in these kids' lives, and we have no idea the stress they're under. So, you just gotta stay well, and and make sure that you are able to be in a good place where you can help other people to get well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
I don't know where it came from.
You really brought it in. You really brought it in. I love it. I love it. I do have another question. So I know you started as like a young professional and you ended up changing in college. So how do you find internships? How do you find part-time jobs? What are maybe local juvenile places of employment for individuals interested in this? Where are they looking? So can you provide more insight on that for maybe people who are getting ready to graduate, and if they can just get a part-time job? Is college required? Can you provide more about that?
There's a ways to get around. I would say this trip, when I first started, there was a lot of people in the field who didn't have college degrees. You don't find that anymore. I mean, that is there are guidelines put together for you to not have a degree and do what I do, but it's a much more difficult task to get there. So having a college degree, something in criminal justice, something in a similar kind of field will come in handy. But as far as getting started in the field, I've done job fairs. I've done all kinds of things over the years for people to get involved. I do a lot of stuff at the schools. Anytime I'm close to many teachers there, so if they have some questions about if they have a student that wants to interview me about this particular job and what I do, I've availed myself to those kind of things. So anything I can do, I mean, because I do this for a living and I've done it long enough, I have people who, I wear badges all the time, so they'll ask me about that. So it's kind of it's kind of an open invitation to have a discussion about what I do, and then get that into why do you do it and what fulfillment do you get out of it. So it's a combination of things.
Awesome. Now, my final question for you is, we're getting close to the weekend, but what's been the highlight of your week in your job?
Highlight of my week and my job. Good question. Well, I'm putting my office together. I've been in a kind of a bullpen with 8 to 10 other officers for a while now. So just having quiet.
Yeah.
And my office is too bright, so I got to figure out where to put my lamps. Buy some lamps and put in here. So just kind of, weirdly enough, kind of decorating. Kind of moving forward and kind of looking. And I've had I have people on call, so I've been able to help impart some of the knowledge that I've learned over the last 26 years. So I think that is that was a couple things, but those have been the highlights of my week.
And so when you talk about the highlights in this next journey, so what advancement is there for you next, if there is any, and how long do people typically stay in this career?
Well, we recently what just happened recently is our top three, our chief and then the two chief deputies just retired like January 1. So, but they had been here. My boss, the chief had been here over 35 years. The chief deputy had been here 33 years. The other chief deputy, whose spot I have, he had been here and left and done other things, but still stayed in the field. But does it? But saying that, I mean, I could retire in 3 years. So, I mean, somebody could have my job in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's just, you just never know. That's just it. I mean, like I was working at detention and then a couple people left. So the opportunities, it's just depending on where you're standing when the opportunity hits.
Seems like it's kind of a revolving door, but when it's at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like you're leaving tomorrow, but you know, you might be there for 5 to 10 years if you're enjoying it. Not trying to extend your career longer, but
right. And the guy who my boss, the new chief, he's maybe 6-8 months older than me, so I don't foresee we'll probably and I can actually retire before him. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any advancement in this particular career. And even when I retire, I'm still going to do. I'm not going to stop working. So it'll be. My plan is to in this 3 to 5 year period get a master's degree in social work and start becoming a licensed counselor. So I'll still be working with people going forward, but I'll be working with people with a state pension. So
yeah,
a little bit more. That's always nice. So.
Well, I love how you mentioned about what your future looks like and how you're looking towards to getting a master's degree. And I really appreciate your transparency. And that's all the questions that I had. And I know our students are probably going to really benefit from, your openness and just really kind of diving deep on how you stay active in this field, how you progress in this field, what are those tough moments, and how this is a field for people who love to help people. So help children, teachers, parents, everyone. So thank you so much for your information. And I know our students are really going to benefit from this information. And who knows, maybe you'll see some interns or young officers in the future.
Sounds good to me. Send them on.
Awesome.
Thank you.